Hey guys, so how are you doing today? I wasn't sure I was going to do this, but I decided to do it anyway. I'm quickly going to run through the theology midterm study guide, and I'm going to talk pretty quickly. I'm going to try to pretty much do it as concise and as brief as I can, because there's kind of a lot to cover, and this is a pretty lengthy exam. So let's go ahead and get to the first question. What is teleology? So teleology is a study of final goals. Just know that. Do all things achieve their ends? No, not all things achieve their goal. Remember what she told us that not all acorns achieve their goal of becoming oak trees? So this is the same for a lot of different things. They don't always achieve their goals. So the telos of human life is happiness, which is kind of the last question right here. Describe the telos of human life. Well, not the last question, but almost the last one. So why was Aristotle convinced that this is each person's final end? So this is the only thing that people pursue for its own sake. It's a goal that lies beneath and holds together every goal. So we humans achieve this by living well and behaving well. I'm a little tired and out of breath, so forgive me for that, but so this Aristotle was convinced this is true because if you keep asking yourself why you do certain things, you will always end up at happiness, which is the ultimate goal, the ultimate thing that we all get to. Next question. Explain the two components of happiness, subjective and objective. How do we differentiate them? So this is kind of tricky. I wasn't sure if about this question exactly, but I go ahead and put, so objective, we know that is something that is widely known as a fact, whereas subjective just means is your own opinion. So the faculty of thinking logically and in moral sense. I believe these two are the two components of happiness. I wasn't not entirely sure of this too, so if I'm mistaken, please go ahead and leave a comment so I can correct myself and the rest of the people watching this video as well. So next question. Why might people disagree with each other over what creates happiness? How is that someone would come to a conclusion that a vicious activity makes them happy? So possibly because they haven't properly trained their bodies to be virtuous as our characters. As our character is formed by the relationship between rational and appetitive. So we'll get into what rational and appetitive is in a minute. So vicious activity can make someone happy because they are unaware that what they're doing is actually wrong, so they don't have a right balance between their extremes. Also, reason is no longer existent, as compassion and empathy are no longer allowed in them. This is for the people who think they're absolutely wrong, but they don't recognize that they're wrong. So yeah, it's true. There can be people that believe they're right, but they're actually very wrong. So how is that someone would come to conclude that a vicious activity makes them happy? So being virtuous essentially means there is no appetitive struggle, and it is reached through virtue and happiness. For Aristotle, what role does virtue play in all of this? Aristotle says that the human telos must come through must come through virtue. There we go. And virtue is in rational state. So just remember that there's people out there who believe they're right, but they're absolutely not right, because their conscience is not fully formed. So they have like very wrong ideals and very wrong philosophical views of the world. Next question. So what are the parts of the human being according to Aristotle, with which morality is concerned? So morality is most concerned with the appetitive and rational. So I have a small diagram right here to kind of understand what the parts of a human being are. So a human is composed of two different things: the non-rational side and the rational side. The rational side is the reasoning and thinking. This is the logical side. There should be an arrow right here, actually. The non-rational is composed of the appetitive, which is your desires and your emotions to kind of wanting to eat, wanting to have sex, wanting to do all these different things. Non-rational also means your vegetative, which are your involuntary functions that just work as they are, and you have no control over them. So we have two different things: rational and non-rational. Again, the rational, not the appetitive, and the vegetative. Those are the different parts of human being. Next question. Describe the relationship between character and actions. What role does habit play in this? So our character is formed by the relationship between rational and appetitive, which trains our bodies to be virtuous, which trains our actions and feelings. Since we cannot influence how we feel, we should never allow our emotions to determine our actions. There's this quote that we should remember when it comes to the quiz that is, practice does not make perfect, it makes permanent. We are what we repeatedly do. Aristotle. Our habits determine our character, and the character is defined by the people acting in predictable ways. So again, the relationship between the character and the actions is that every action that we do, whether that is wrong or bad, whether that is wrong or good, that kind of determines our character and how we practice what we are which essentially just says that if we do something wrong constantly, we get accustomed to doing that, and therefore we are probably not the best human beings, and we should fix that. So whatever you do, whatever habits you're used to doing, whatever habits you're used to doing, they determine the kind of person you are. Next question. Explain the difference between Aristotle's four characters types. Okay, so we have the four characters right here. So virtuous just means that no appetitive struggle and reaches virtue and happiness. He lets his rational control his appetitive. So there's different four characters that people fall under. Incontinent just means soft, also known as soft. This is a struggle in giving in to appetitive pleasure. It knows what is right and is tempted to do wrong, but does right. So this person's kind of in the middle. They know that something is right, but they're kind of concerned about whether they're doing it or not. But at the end of the day, they end up doing the right thing. Now we have continent, which is also enduring. So this is a struggle in experiencing emotion. They know what is right and they're tempted to do wrong, but they actually do the wrong thing, as opposed to incontinent, who end up doing the right thing, they end up doing the wrong thing. Now vicious, as you probably know, these are the kind of people who no longer are able to judge from right and wrong. Now it says the next question, which ones struggle with their desires? So as you can tell, incontinent and continent are both who struggle with their desire. So why has Aristotle linked virtue so closely with happiness? So let's see. Aristotle agrees only through happiness will we achieve virtue. So if someone isn't virtuous, they will not achieve this premeditated state of happiness. So you have to be at this level in order to be happy.